Hi everyone, Kevin here, part of the Zenler team, and welcome to an interview with a pro user. Unless I can think of a better name, that's what we're going with. And today I'm really pleased that we've got one of my favourite people, Shelley Fishel. Hi Shelley.
Hi Kevin, thanks very much for having me on.
No problem. So Shelley's from TomorrowsVA, and the purpose of our interviews is really to share a little bit of how real people are using Zenler and the platform to actually build an audience, to make some sales, and to progress their business. And everybody's going to use it slightly differently because there's lots of functions in there, lots of ways to build courses and sell courses and all of that. And over the course of the interviews I'm going to be doing, we're going to be delving into each person's unique way of doing it. And so today we've got Shelley. And Shelley, can you just, for those of you, the people watching this that don't know you, can you just give us a brief intro as to you and your business and what you do with Zenler?
Okay, so I'm an IT trainer. My name's Shelley Fishel and my company name is TomorrowsVA. And I used to be a classroom corporate trainer. So I've been teaching Microsoft Office, that's what I teach, Microsoft Office products for over 20 years in the classroom. However, back in 2011, 12, 13, I realized that the future was going to eventually move online. And that started my first iteration of creating online training. So I took my classroom-based courses and replicated them in an online environment. And I have to admit, for the first couple of times that I did that, I did not succeed at all. One site I used an LMS from the USA, which was incredibly expensive. So I knocked that on the head after a year because I didn't make any sales because I didn't know how to market. The second time around, we had a WordPress website with a different name and that got hacked. And again, I hadn't made many sales. And then the third time I set up on Teachable about 3 years ago. And before that, in 2014, I took a qualification. So I qualified with the Learning and Performance Institute in the UK, how to be an online learning facilitator and also how to be a designer of online learning. So I knew how to design the kind of courses that I run for the online environment. And as I said, I started off on Teachable because it was old Zenler at the time. I did have a test account on old Zenler, and I had one on all of the platforms, settled on Teachable at that time. And then when Zenler renewed itself last year, I was introduced to it, and I thought I'll give it a whirl. And I have to say, it blew me away right from the beginning. And back in August 2019, there was a heck of a lot less functionality than there is now, because Rakesh and the team have been absolutely astonishing at the way they're building out the platform and responding to those early users. And there were a couple of reasons I moved. One was it was so much easier for me as a non-web person. I wouldn't say a non-techie because I am fairly techie, but I'm not a web person. So it was much easier for me to design my pages. I found Teachable restrictive when I was trying to build a sales page there. So New Zenler's design is just superb. And the responsiveness of the support team is amazing. And also it was a no-brainer to lock in at the beta price, which was even less then than it is now. And that's an annual price. And I was paying $99 a month for Teachable. So there was just no question that it was a better option. And there's just so much more functionality as well.
Cool. So for those of you that might be new to the group, an LMS is a learning management system. So it's it's the portal to put our courses online, yeah. Basically. Okay, so you've been through quite a lot of systems, and Teachable was your go-to one for 2 or 3 years. How did you find the transition from Teachable to Zenler? Was it easy?
It was quite easy. First of all, support were amazing and they migrated all my courses.
Oh, brilliant.
So that idea of having to sit there, find all the videos in the order that they were, and then download, upload, move, whatever. Of course, I've got backups of everything, but it's still a hassle. But support took that hassle away, which I think is just phenomenal. And then I was able to go in and start to redesign what the sales pages looked like, what and what the functionality is. And then over time, as functionality is added, I've been able to add other bits and pieces. I still don't use everything. I really don't use everything, but I use for the moment enough for me.
Okay. So when, because you had quite a lot of courses on Teachable, didn't you? So we're not talking one or two. So if you're sitting there and you think you're sort of captured by who you're with right now, and you're in Teachable and you've got 10 or 20 or 30 courses, and it's going to be weeks and months to get shifted over, it really isn't the case. And even if you're not on Teachable but another system, speak to support, because they might be able to guide you in how the best practice is to get that moved over if they can't do it for you. Okay, so let's get into the course side of this, because this is the interesting bit, and I know you're quite prolific in your course creation. So one of the biggest questions that comes up in the group is people want inspiration for a course that they pretty much knows there's an idea that it's going to sell. Because one of the worst things is you spend days and days and days creating something, you hit the I'm going to sell it button, put it live, and nothing happens. It's all tumbleweed. So the first part I want you to go into is right at the beginning. Where do you get your inspiration for your next course? How do you research that?
So when I started Tomorrow's VA, the online iteration, I had a niche in mind. As I said, I was a corporate IT trainer, so I was teaching Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook in corporate or in bigger businesses, in the classroom, in person. I had delivered stuff remotely as well, but far less than now, obviously. So situations changed drastically now. But so I was already delivering. So I already knew what my courses were. And it was a case of figuring out how to repackage that into smaller chunks for online, because you're not going to deliver an 8-hour course or a 6-hour or a 7-hour course, which you would do in person over the course of a day. That chunks down to a lot less time because it's condensed. You haven't got the audience interaction online, but you do have to put something in there to keep your learners engaged. So I kind of knew what I wanted, but I actually then worked out that I had the virtual assistant niche, because I'd been speaking at events for VAs, for PAs, for EAs, and those were the people that I was talking to all the time. And it suddenly it was a bit like a bolt out of the blue when I was thinking, who's my niche? Where's my niche? And I thought, hang on a minute, you've got a niche. You've been talking at the PA show, delivering for Hemsley Fraser, which are all PA organizations. So that's how Tomorrow's VA came about. And then I went and asked them whether they would be interested in IT training. Partly I knew that the VAs I'd employed didn't know enough to do the things I was asking them to do in the most efficient way. So as a trainer, obviously I know how to use Microsoft Office because that's what I teach. So if I'm asking a VA to do something, I'm expecting her to know, or him, to know how to do it. And I was finding that I was teaching them all the time. So that's kind of where it came from. I then asked 3 very influential VA trainers who train people how to run their business as a VA, whether it was even worth dipping my toe in. And their resounding answer was yes. So I'd say the first thing you need to do is find out. And it could be that you create a landing page with a sign-up form, and you just share that around and see if people buy, see if people sign up for it. If you get enough people signing up, then it might be worth fleshing it out and working on it. That sort of thing, if you don't know who to ask.
So part 1, find your niche. Don't go broad brush like most people do, which is, I service everyone. And within what you do, pretty much everyone that has a computer would have a need to learn this stuff. So going that far wide means it doesn't go anywhere. So pick your niche, and Shelley's got her VAs, and that was the niche. And the second thing is to ask them. So talk to people that have the communities of the target audience that run those communities with their permission. So speak to them. If you've got an audience already, speak to them and just directly there's all sorts of survey monkeys you can use. You can use, as Shelley will tell you, there's forms and questions that you can use in Office 365 to put surveys out to get that feedback. And all of that time, and this is where I'll say to you, that shouldn't stop you in planning the actual content, but what it will do is it will help you when you're ready to launch to have someone to launch it to.
Yeah.
Okay, so knowing your audience, and you've said, traditionally it was a 6 or 8 hour session in a room environment, in-person environment. You've took that content, and clearly we can't sit someone in front of a computer for 8 hours. They would go absolutely crazy, if not fall asleep. How do you structure have you got a set format for your courses that you tend to follow, or do you do them slightly different on each one?
Well, each one is slightly different because the content is different.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to have task-based courses. So teaching in the classroom, I realized that when people booked a classroom training course, they would book Word Essentials, Excel Intermediate, PowerPoint Advanced. And I didn't really want to create courses like that because it was too broad brush and too general. So my courses are much more task-based. For example, in Word, I've got a course called How to Create an eBook or Lead Magnet, or Creating eBooks and Lead Magnets in Word. Now, really, that's a course that's all about Word. It's basically got everything in it that you would need to learn about Word. But it's much easier for a VA to say, oh, my client's just asked me to create an eBook, or I need to create a lead magnet. That's the course that I need. I'm in the process of right now creating and launching a new course called How to Create Fillable Forms in Word. It's actually it's on my plan to do, finish editing it this afternoon. And that is all about creating fillable forms, which is a very specialized area, and not everybody will need them. But if you know how to create them, they're amazing. So it's about focusing in on the task more than the level. Having said that, my Excel course is a bit more of a level because that's my essential Excel skills for business. So it's really about working out what my content's going to be, what's the outcome. When you design any course, you have to design with the outcome in mind. You have to know what's your learner going to walk away being able to do. So for example, if I know my learner needs to create a report, then I can unpack that report into all the component steps that make up a report and then structure that into a course.
So within the courses that you create, now there's lots of different ways of doing this, and this is another question that comes up quite often. And we've spoken to people like Simon Raybould, who's a presentation genius, and all of that. And my question really is, with your courses, how do you deliver the course? So, for example, on ours, we tend to have a video where we talk over slides. We have a check sheet and a workbook that runs throughout our course. How is yours structured in the actual deliverability side of it?
So I break my courses down into shorter chunks, apart from my fillable forms one, where the lessons actually are a bit longer because I can't chop them up anymore.
No.
I try and chop them up to no more than 3 to 5 minutes, but just sometimes you can't get the content in.
No.
So mine are all screen shares. I use Camtasia to record.
Mm-hmm.
I've invested in Camtasia years and years and years ago. I upgrade it every time there's a new version come out. It's my favorite piece of software, almost. And it's just brilliant. And it allows me to record my screen and to record me. You'll see I've got my green screen behind me. So I record me, and then I edit out the green screen. So I remove the green color and I superimpose myself on the video. So I record a screen share where I'm showing you exactly the steps. This is where we're going to go. This is what we're going to do. And I'll include downloadable documents for you to practice on if they're applicable. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. And sometimes there'll be a user guide. So in my the Slide Master course and in my Work Smarter with Style for Word courses, there's actually a user guide, which is like a training manual, which is step-by-steps with screenshots. So there's something else. For every course, my later courses are much better than my earlier courses quality-wise, because you learn as you go along.
Yeah.
And anything that I've created in 2020 has 2 videos in each lesson. There will be one video without captions, that will be the top one. There will be another video with captions, because you have to make your content accessible. In the States, it's coming into law later this year that things have to be accessible. So they will need to have captions burned in some way. I also provide a transcript as well. I hate transcripts, because if you ever read a transcript of something, it doesn't read very well.
No.
So I try and space it a bit better, but I do all of those things. So the courses are accessible. Somebody watching or taking your course may be in an office environment. They may have kids wandering around at the moment, working from home. They may be listening in a headset. They may not be able to have the sound on at all. So giving them the option of the captions, not captions, yes captions, and it also helps anybody who has a visual, an audio impairment.
Yeah.
They can read the captions. So that's kind of the structure. So yes, there's a lot of back end work. I have to admit, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, but once you get into the flow of it, then it becomes just the process you go through, and that's how it operates.
Yeah.
Now, with New Zenler, there's been, as you say, there's been a lot of updates in the last specifically 6 months. We've got live stuff going on there with webinars and communities and all of this stuff. One of the things that we've found over the years is that buying a course is normally the start of the relationship with a client. They'll often look for additional stuff, whether that's support calls, communities, or whatever. Do you have, or have you got plans to include anything that keeps the engagement going, maybe like quizzes or a community or stuff like that?
Well, I do use the community.
Okay.
I don't push it. I'm not in there typing stuff in every day. And my learners are very quiet. They tend to come in, do their course and get on with life and put their learning into practice. I have a Facebook group outside of that, but again, that's quite quiet. Again, probably because I don't push it enough. If you want something, you have to lead it. But I find there's just so much to do in a day that kind of languishes at the side. I actually introduced just last month 2 new products to my course academy. One of those is called Trainer in Your Pocket. And this is a subscription, because my stuff doesn't really lend itself to becoming a membership, because once you've learnt it, you've learnt it.
Yeah.
Unless I was going to commit to showing up once a month live or something, people weren't going to carry on paying for access every month. And then you run the risk of them paying for a couple of months, consuming everything and leaving. So I decided that membership was not the right vehicle for what I do. That isn't to say it's not right for other people. It's just not right for me.
Yeah.
So I wanted some sort of a subscription product, and I came up with this idea of Trainer in Your Pocket, which is a learner can pay me a small amount every month, and they have access to me for half an hour live if they want to. If they don't use it, they lose it. They can't accrue it and save it up and get a day's training for not very much money. But at least it gives them the idea that if they've got some burning questions, they can book a live call with me, and we can hop on a Zoom or whatever and deal with that. The other thing I have is called Learn Live with Shelley. So this is a live workshop. You could book that for a one-to-one live training or for a group. So I'm not averse to delivering live. In fact, I'm delivering a live workshop in a couple of weeks' time to a group of people who are using Microsoft Teams, and that's a workshop on how to use Teams. And that's all going to be delivered live. So yes, you can do all sorts of things. And I have buttons that link to my booking calendar. So for Trainer in Your Pocket, when you subscribe to that, you go into the course, and actually the landing page is book your call here.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing at the moment.
Okay, brilliant. So would you be willing to share your site with us, so we can just have a quick look as to what it looks like? If you tell me what the URL is for it, I will put it on the video afterwards so people can see it and click on it.
Okay, so it's coursedirectory.tomorrowsva.com, and I've just shared it with you. I've just shared my browser with you, actually. So this is my homepage, and you may recognize it because every so often it comes up in the group as a page that people say, oh, this is really nice. And I'm always amazed. So if you're one of the people that's told me it looks really nice, thank you, because I'm not a designer. And I just kind of put this together myself. So I surprised myself. So I've got the regular dynamic header. You can see I'm logged in here because I'm actually working in the back end at the moment. And these are just different blocks where I've used my brand colors to talk about it. I talk about Veronica, she's my frog alter ego. And then I've got all the different courses. Now this bit is interesting. I have individual courses, which people can buy one course at a time. But I also have a major bundle, which includes all of the courses. And I decided to do that to get people to give me a bit more money, but not as much as if they bought all the courses. So I have, it's called Tomorrow's VA Hub. And because I speak to virtual assistants and assistants everywhere, and I have a contact in Australia who said, I want to sell your courses in Australia. And then somebody else said, well, I want to buy them in dollars. So I've created 3 versions of every course. So the courses are all created in UK pounds, Great British pounds, and then cloned. So they're exactly the same. The only thing that's different is the pricing plan. Everything else is the same. And some of the tags in the automations, because I differentiate between which currency people bought. So I kind of know that, where they're coming from. So these are actually images. They are images and links to a category of courses. So if you wanted to look at the prices for the hub in US dollars, you could just see the dollar hub here. And when you go all the way to the bottom, past the testimonials and me and everything else, that's what's included, all the different courses, and eventually you get to the price. So that's what these are. So this is a gallery, like an image block, a picture of each of my hubs, and then the links there. And then I've got, so those are just the hub, which is all the courses. These link to all the pricing, all the individual courses. So if you wanted to buy any of the courses in Australian dollars, these ones are all priced in dollars.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes for the ones, if you click the American flag, they're all priced in US dollars. And that was the way I got round not being able to have different currencies on the same course. And then just over the weekend, I had a lovely young lady from India get in touch with me, and she wants to pay in Indian rupees, INR. But we are having, I have to admit, you might see the post from me in the group, having a bit of problem getting that to work.
Yeah.
But I have cloned one of the courses to Indian rubles. So there we go. Now, this is an interesting one. This is my newest course. You'll see it's published. It doesn't have a price plan, but it is published. The reason it's published is this, because I added the pop-up to join the waiting list. So people will find the site. This will pop up straight away. It says it's not ready yet. It's under construction, and they'll hopefully sign up for the waiting list. And then this gives you can see what the curriculum is as I'm working on it in the back end. Yep. So somebody can make an informed decision as to whether they want to buy this, because they can see exactly what's in it. So does that answer any questions?
Yeah, it answers quite a lot, and I really like the idea of publishing it so people can sign up before it goes live, because again, it's another way of getting interest and a list of potential buyers. And that was something that came up. Now, I do have another question, and this was a relevant one that came up in the group recently, which is about testing courses. So do you have people, or do you have a way of testing your course before it goes live, or did you, and there you don't, or how do you do that, or do you just build it and release?
Most of the time I build it and release it because I know my content. I've been doing this for over 20 years. I know my examples, I know what I want to say, and I know that it works. The fillable forms course, though, is a new one. I used to teach it about 12 years ago for a very much older version of Microsoft Word, and I haven't taught it for ages. But I have had people ask for it, so I know there's a need for it. And I actually have 5 beta testers going through it today, hopefully, to tell me what I need to change before I finish it off this afternoon. So it depends what the course is, whether you get somebody to test it or not. I think it's a good idea to get people to test because they can see if the structure, they can tell you if the structure works. Did you miss something? You know, I've been going through my course this morning myself as if I'm a learner, and I've noticed where I've missed things or documents are missing or which version of document I need to save. So yeah, but I really think it shouldn't stop you from launching.
No. If they're new to Zenler or they're new to creating courses, maybe they're a little bit nervous about putting it fully out there. And I get that. We all started somewhere, you know, and to get feedback. And I know we've asked you to do this for us before when we're looking at launching something. We have our little VIP group and we put it in there and go, look, it's not quite right, but what do you think? And they're trusted people that will give us feedback. Also, the other side of the coin with that is that if you're not really well known or you don't have a big audience, is you can give it to people to test it, but also to maybe get a testimonial as well, to go on your sales page, which can be really quite beneficial. So yeah, I think beta testing is good. And that was a question that did come up in the group. Actually, I think it was today.
Okay. I haven't really looked today.
Okay, so I think we're wrapping up on this now. So really what I want to just finish with is some words of advice from a highly experienced trainer, online and offline. If you were to sit down with someone that hadn't launched their first course yet or was in that whole part of looking for perfection, all of the things that new course creators go through, if you could say a couple of words to them or a couple of things to them, what would your advice be to new course creators?
Okay, well, I've been doing this for a long time. I started doing online from about 2011, so I was way ahead of the curve and really didn't know what I was doing. And I've always worked with other people to help me work out what to do. So one of the things that I often say to people is get a mentor or find somebody who's doing what you want to do and find out how they do it so that you can emulate, not copy, but they can model what they do. So the most recent person that I've been working with is a lady called Jeanette Tessier, who has her whole business is called Get That Course Online. And she is also a hugely experienced trainer about taking your subject matter expert and helping them get their course online. And the mantra that Jeanette kind of drums into you and I subscribe to wholeheartedly is done is better than perfect, because it will never be perfect. The other thing is don't compare yourself to anybody else. You can't compare your content, your style, or your sales to anybody else because we're all different. And my training may be super amazing for Kevin and absolutely lousy for Bob. So that I think is the hardest lesson, is not to compare yourself to other people. And sometimes when you see other people who appear to be really successful, that's the word, appear. Because we all put out this veneer on social media and online that, you know, hey, look at me, I'm doing this and I'm doing that. But you don't always know what's going on behind that. So I think don't overthink it is the other one. So make a plan, stick to your plan, get on with your plan and just put it out there.
And of course, your first course is your first course. And when you look back in a year or 5 years, it's going to look a little bit different. you know, because you'll become more experienced presenting, you'll be more experienced, maybe you can invest more in more equipment
Yeah.
if you're just starting out, so you can get better equipment. Maybe you'll also had feedback from people that have bought into your system. So growth happens with course creation, just like it does in any business or any career that you decide to choose. So, you know, the starting point is just get it done, and enjoy it. You know, enjoy the process of doing it, because to teach somebody a skill that they don't have, irrespective of what it is actually quite an honor to do that. You know, it's a nice feeling to give someone that knowledge. And everybody watching this, everyone in New Zenler, the whole purpose of it is to teach something.
Yeah.
So, you know, just enjoy that, and, you know, embrace it, and you'll find that time flies by, and before you know it, you've got half a dozen courses out, and, you know, you're thoroughly enjoying stuff.
Yeah, I mean, what you said there about your first courses, my first few courses, I'm not on video.
Right.
I'm not on camera. They're just screen share and me talking over camera. Not because I'm shy of being on camera, I'm not, but it's because I didn't know any better when I started out. And I thought, oh, people don't really need to see me. They just want me to tell them and show them what to do. But the feedback overwhelmingly is, yes, it's nice. In fact, I've heard people actually say this. I love the fact that you're there on the screen. It gives me a connection. So if you're worried about being on camera, get over it. You know, practice. Do a few Facebook Lives just to your dog, or your friends. Just record yourself on your phone and play it back. Eventually, you'll get used to it, because people want to see you. They make the connection with you as their teacher, tutor, lecturer, whatever you want to call us, and that's really a very important part of your teaching as well.
Brilliant. Okay, so I'll add in the link to Shelley's school underneath this video, so please do and go and check it out, have a poke around and see what she's doing over there. We've seen some of the stuff that's going on, and hopefully that's inspired you to think, actually, you can incorporate this, especially if you've got a larger audience than just the currency that you work in. And for me, that's a really fascinating part of what Shelley does. So Shelley, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you being my first interview on this this series that we're going to be putting out. And yeah, thank you very much, and we'll see you all in the group for the next interview that gets released. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.